1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, good morning, guys. It is the Hake Report. I am James Hake. It's Friday, February 21st, 2020, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Los Angeles. Hour 4 of Jesse Lee Peterson's stream. Thank you, Jesse, on YouTube, dlive.tv/Jesse Lee Peterson, Periscope, and Mixer. Thank you, guys. And, of course, on jlptalk.com, the live audio stream going. Talk stream live, guys. A few announcements before I get to my guest. I have a guest for you guys. This is going to be awesome. Trump rally today in Las Vegas, noon today, Pacific time. And The Fallen State is out today. Jesse Lee Peterson's interview with a Pan-African expert, Stacey Mitchell, she black. And, of course, Church with Jesse Lee Peterson on Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time here from Los Angeles. Figure it out wherever you are in the rest of the world. After my show on my channel at 9 a.m. Sunday, The Hake Report. All right, guys. So, as you all know, Jesse Lee Peterson always says what's happening in South Africa is coming to America. And he's right about that. He has a whole playlist on that in his Jesse Lee Peterson channel, which is currently up on YouTube. We'll see what happens with YouTube. Rapes, tortures, robberies, murders, stealing of land by the government, destruction, just general destruction of society. There is just this self-destructive thing happening, and it's also other destructive. Attacks on whites like crazy, attacks on one another, the blacks are attacking one another. Jesse Lee Peterson has interviewed Americans who've been to South Africa, Lauren Southern, who made the Farmlands documentary, Tim Mostert twice, who doesn't talk a lot about the attacks on the whites. He's over there, but he talks about just what's going on. AIDS all over the place, out-of-wedlock births, orphans, everything. And Jesse Lee Peterson has interviewed South African Boers, B-O-E-R-S. Those are the natives, the white natives. Willem Petzer, nephew of a farm murder victim. I think his family's been attacked. He's personally been attacked twice. Jesse's interviewed him twice. And Dan Barnard, D-A-A-N, Barnard, who was attacked as a boy, and I think his family has been attacked, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. Callers into our show, Jacques, Dan's brother, Dwayne, he said that viewers would be sick if they heard the detail of the atrocities that's been happening. So my guest with me today is Jason Bartlett. On Twitter at Buffalo Bartlett. He's a South African Boer, white native, currently I think based in Texas. He's walking from Austin, Texas to Washington, D.C., to the White House, hopefully, right? He started January 1st, and it's the 21st of February. Last week, he was halfway there, so I don't know where he is now. But his website, boerextinction.org, B-O-E-R, extinction, all one word, .org. Bartlett's appeared on One America News Network and Newsmax TV. So thankfully, some of the bigger media on TV places have been having him on, and that's good too. It's good to know. Jason, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's awesome to share fellowship with people that actually care and know that what they are doing is directly affecting them, and what's happening in South Africa is affecting you and everyone.
Yeah. And everybody watching, if you're watching live, listening live, you can call in too if you have any question or comment for Jason. 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. So, Jason. Do I call you Jason or Buffalo?
No, you can call me Jason. That's fine. The Buffalo Bartlett is just, it's a nice analogy for our people. We are tough people. We don't have a mock charge, and we're strong people, and we're going through, and we are hunted on a daily basis in South Africa. So Jason is fine.
Right on. When did you move to Texas?
I moved to Texas at the end of August in 2018, and we seeked asylum in February, and we are quite far in the process already, and the Lord laid on my heart that I need to obviously do something quite drastic, and I just obediently listened, and I lifted my hands to him. I said, Father, I will do this. You just lead me to where I must be, and he's opened doors, including this very door that is opened right now with you.
So you came basically as a refugee to America. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Without doxing anyone, and you don't have to answer this, do you still have family over there?
Yes, I do have family over in South Africa. I've actually done everything by the book, the legal way, the expensive way,
Right.
the difficult way. But I've respected the United States, as I think everybody should. I didn't come over the border illegally. I came at a port of entry, and I seeked asylum, and I've followed the laws. I've attended all my meetings. I've gone for my fingerprints, and I've done the stuff professionally because everybody's been welcoming as long as you do it professionally and correctly and ethically.
You said that Texas, the part of Texas, I think you're based in Austin, I don't know, is most like where you're from in South Africa. Explain that.
So where I actually come from, we call it the Texas of South Africa. It's big cattle farming country, and it's just the landscape is very much similar. It's a harsh climate, very, very hot climate, especially right now. And then the same type of people. The Texans are nice, warm people, open. Everything's bigger in Texas, and the same way as in Africa is, it's a unique experience.
Nice. I'm concerned in America because we are losing even Texas. Texas has been known to be like very conservative, but with the increase of young brainwashed people into socialism, communism, anti-white brainwashing, anti-men brainwashing, and the influx of immigrants who are, basically they come from socialist countries, and then they elect anti-white, anti-Christian socialists here in this country. I'm concerned that we're losing Texas and America, just like what happened with you guys, although you guys have always been a minority in South Africa, seemingly, or at least for 100 years or more. Anything to say about that?
It is very, very scary because the very first time I came to Texas was in 2006, as I was starting to work on a farm, and the difference I've seen between 2006 and 2018, 19, and 20 is so drastic. It is actually appalling because I live about an hour north of Dallas. And when I decided to start to walk from Austin Capitol, the Texas State Capitol building, you would imagine that Texas would be warm and welcoming. Man, the Antifa threatened me in Austin.
Yeah.
People threw Coke cans at me. I had to dive out of the road on the first day. It was pretty appalling what happened over there as well, because it's shocking that can actually be Texas. I mean, where did that come from? And it's an agenda that you say. They've been brainwashed. They've been indoctrinated, not educated.
Yeah. You're walking to D.C. Have you contacted the White House? Have you contacted Tucker Carlson? Are you going to?
I have.
You go for it.
I have reached out to the Trump administration. We've got some responses from some Congress people, some senators, but we will be pushing that in the next couple of days as well to get more coverage because they are very aware what's happening. Tucker Carlson actually has just recently interviewed a gentleman named Ernest Roots, which is the biggest civil rights organization, AfriForum, in the entire continent of Africa, just backing up each and every single thing that I am doing against raising awareness for the farm murders, and not only farm murders, the murders in overall in South Africa against my minority population, the Boer and the white people.
And when you say civil rights organization, referring to AfriForum, you're referring to like actual rights, not this fake social justice-y so-called civil rights that's been pushed in America for the last however many decades.
Yes, I'm talking about civil rights to actually breathe air in your lungs and live peacefully and own a piece of land and work that land and live in harmony and not live threatened to be killed. Not the type of not the type of civil rights where Elizabeth Warren stands up and says everybody deserves free healthcare. It's a human right. And Bernie Sanders says everything should be free. It's not that fake agenda. It's actual real, just the right to be alive, actually.
Nice. You know what? I have a caller for you before I talk more with you about, because I have some questions about how people support you and the people who do support you here in America and the attack on the people who support you, including the president. But first, let me get to a caller out of Pasadena, California. Robert, first-time caller out of Pasadena, California. Robert, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Hi,
James.
Hey.
Oh, well, I want to ask your guest, because I was watching some things on South Africa, and I had heard that, I don't know if this is true, but I wanted to ask, that the Boers, the Danish people, had got to South Africa, and they had settled the land. But then, whether it was the Zulus or whoever, later on, they came down from the north, and they kind of took over. I was wondering if that was true.
Yeah, so the Boer people arrived in Africa in 1652. The Afrikaner not the Afrikaner originally because the language still developed, but they came from the places called Netherlands, where Jan van Riebeeck found the country, and they established it. And now these the black people the Dingans and the Zulus that were very ferocious and very hateful people, and that generation is still alive, as you can see. They're very, very hateful.
Yeah.
So it
right.
is true. The white minority arrived there in 1652. They found Africa and the Khoisan, who are the original people like the native Indians in America. The Khoisan is what you call them. And those Khoisan are actually experiencing huge xenophobic attacks as well from the blacks, because that's the people like Dengan murdered one of my family members now long ago. His name was Pitratif. But they were trying to sign a peace treaty with them, welcomed them in, and then butchered and tortured them exactly the same way as they still do today.
Wow. Anything else, Robert?
That's sad, man. Not right now.
All right, appreciate it.
But thank you.
Yeah,
have a nice
again.
day, James.
All right, you as well. You know, that's what I've heard, is that these the blacks that are attacking you guys and taking over the government, they're basically communists. They are communists. That they're not even the native people. They don't have the right to that land. And you guys were there first, and you peacefully made deals with some of the actual natives. And then sometimes there were little conflicts here and there. But you rightfully had the land. I see it as a mischaracterization of history, that just like what has gone on in America, they accuse us of genocide and being built on slavery and genocide when it's not even close to the truth.
Yeah, it's nowhere near the truth. And then they say the world is built on slavery. It's like, okay, cool. Then show me one African country that's a success by itself. It's just, come on. If you want to talk facts, then you must be talking facts. But they also come along and they change the history. They don't teach the history. For example, the history I learned at school is 110% different compared to the history that they force upon the children in school in South Africa today. And the schooling system is an absolute joke, and it's pathetic, and it's crumbled. And our country is in a crisis, and now they want to expropriate land without compensation because they've stolen all the money, because socialism doesn't work. It just collapses a country, especially if you mingle it with communism and socialism. They go hand in hand.
So the media here and the mainstream, the academics, the politicians, just the general mainstream lies and covers up for Black and Hispanic disproportionate crime, the anti-white hatred. They're part of the media takes part in the anti-white hatred. They're brainwashed themselves, most of them. I'm not surprised that they lie and downplay what's going on over there. When Trump tweeted back in 2018 that he directed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to closely monitor and look at what's going on in South Africa with the farm murders and land expropriation without compensation. I know that Secretary of State Pompeo spoke just the other day in Africa saying that land expropriation without compensation would be disastrous for South Africa. But the media is, here in America, they're against you guys, and they're pretending that that it's overblown, that it's a white supremacist or white nationalist conspiracy theory and all that stuff. And how are you combating that?
The way I'm combating that is you can see the hatred for the farmer and a distinctive race. It all boils down to Christianity. They hate Christians because they're the Antichrist and they stand up against us. There's nothing, Solomon said in the book of Proverbs that there's nothing new under the sun. So we look for answers in the Bible, so we have to fight them the way that we only know how, and that's by the word of God. And the way that they're portraying it, and you can see it starting to slowly happen in America as well. It's a slow hatred that boils. Like our president said that we are going to boil the white people in a pot, but we'll boil them slowly like a frog.
Yeah.
So the frog doesn't know it's getting hot, and then eventually it won't jump out and it won't do anything drastic. It'll just be boiled alive. Our president said that. And people standing up against me should feel such an utter amount of shame, because what I'm standing up is for life. I'm standing up for someone that is being murdered and tortured and brutally tortured. I mean, there was 553 attacks, farm attacks in 2019 and 57 murders. And that is raising the bar, because in 2018 there was 433 and only 54 murders. Now, these are drastic numbers if you realize that people wake up and they have to call all their farm neighbors to see if they're just alive on a daily basis. I mean, it doesn't work that way. And the agenda that you can see this happening in America. In South Africa, they pulled down monuments. They changed history. They took God out of everything. And the same here in America, they're pulling down all these artworks in universities. Bloomberg coming on talking about, how they hate farmers, how they're not for farmers. It's just it's a rolling circle. And South Africa is just 35 years ahead of America. And it's not a threat. It's what is happening. It's going to happen in America as well if we don't stop it and stand up against this evil.
I heard that the church over there, I think it might have been Willem Petzer, who's over there in South Africa, I think, said that the church over there, the white church, is weak. Like they have turned liberal, not for actual love, just this feel-good, nice, female-minded, like basically social justice church is like not a real Christian church anymore. Is that the case?
Well, I've seen a lot of churches like that. Now, my dad is actually a pastor in a beautiful farming community of about 400 people. So I was raised by the book. I was raised very wisely. And that's a lot where my wisdom comes from, is from my father and my dad, my earthly dad, of course. And he sticks to his guns, but of course, people from the church have actually said to him, if you don't do these certain things, we're taking your ordainment away. And he just blatantly refused to do it. And luckily, the protection of God was over him, because he still kept his ordainment. But he still would have carried on preaching the word of God, because they've gone so far, because the bishop of South Africa says he believes in that Jesus Christ died on the cross, but he also believes that he's allowed to worship his ancestors. So, you're looking at a different culture, a different view of life, a different aspect that we need to grasp and understand, but you can't understand it if you don't have any discernment.
You said in another interview, I think, that the government is really looking the other way in terms of these farm murders, these farm attacks, and just the general attack on the native whites over there, partly because, and you can correct me if I'm misquoting you, because it leaves that land open for government to seize the land, which is what they've been wanting to do anyways. Is that true?
That's very true, because let me explain to you how it works in their, forgive me for saying this, but for their perfect murderous mindset. Okay, so the government keeps quiet because if they I personally believe the government is sending these people out, or at least supporting them in a certain kind of way. There's a lot of proof of this, and I thoroughly believe this, because why would not a single person report it? And since 2007, they no longer report on these. It's now done by AfriForum and other local investigators. They go, and what they normally do is they normally strip the children naked, and then they strip the mother naked, and they rape the mother in front of the husband as well as the children. And if they don't kill her, they will put her aside, they beat her up, and then they'll take the 1 month or 2 month or 2 year or 12-year-old child, they will severely beat them, and 8 people or 10 people or 20 people will rape them either to death. And this is not 100 years ago. This is this year, last year, 2018, and so forth and so forth. And they'll make the husband watch after they take, for example, a drill and drill him through his knees and drill him through his shoulders. And they will shoot him point blank at the end of the day, trying to leave the wife alive. So she feels so intimidated to be on that farm that she either sells it or just wants to get completely away from that farm so that they can make it easier to grab that farm and live on that farm and deteriorate the country.
You know, the stuff that they're doing today, both here and over there, is worse than, you know, people, I always hear people say, oh, what goes around comes around. I hear blacks say it, I hear liberals, leftists say it, that they're getting that you reap what you sow, and the whites today are getting what the whites did to the blacks back then. I don't believe that. I think that they've been fed this propaganda, this lie about history, and they're just using it as an excuse to be pure evil.
Yes, no, they are. Well, especially if the liberals shouting out, you know, you reap what you sow. First of all, they mustn't come and try preach a Bible that they know nothing about. It's time that the Christians stand up and say, hey, don't come and try and manipulate me with the word of God. I know the word of God better than you do, so get lost behind me, you know. Tell Satan to get behind you. And another thing is they come along with, you know, you reap what you sow. It's like, okay, well, then in 50 years, what's going to happen to you when you reap what you've sowed now? You know, so you need to look at the ball twice, yes.
To be honest, like the blacks over there, they're suffering too. The murder rate is huge. The black on black crime is way out of control. And they're also killing whites. They're targeting whites. It's wild. Some of you guys, your most vocal supporters over here in this country and around the world, to be honest, are pro-white, or at least they're not anti-white, right? All of them are called hateful. From Jesse Lee Peterson to, you know, the white nationalist or whatever. Some of these guys have grown angry and hateful, bitter, just like the ones who are accusing them, right? So that undermines their support of you guys, because once people see that anger in them, they say, oh, look, these are just angry, hateful, white radicals who are supporting the South Africans. We don't need to support South Africa. It's just a white supremacist talking point. Though I do notice that those who would be sympathetic to you are either nice Christians, which means they're too nice and they're fake. They're just not strong. Angry whites who are too angry. And normal, busy, fair-minded people who are too busy with work, or they're too attached to their job. They don't want the backlash from the politically correct, hateful media and SJWs. Do you have any advice for people to overcome that being nice, being angry, being too busy, too afraid, and how to unite?
You know, that's a very, very good question. It's sometimes difficult to answer that, but you just sincerely need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why am I guilty? For example, myself, I'm 33 years old. I was born in 1987. I had nothing to do with the old regime in South Africa. I have harmed nobody. I have insulted nobody. I have worked hard my whole life, and I'm in a situation where I have to walk 1,557 miles just to have a little bit of a voice and a little bit of a sense of freedom in a country that I do not even call home yet, because my home is busy burning down and I'm hated there. So it is really time to stop feeling guilty, because that's what they've manipulated us with. That's what they've indoctrinated us with. You've got nothing to feel guilty about. You should be proud of who you are. I've invited the black people. I've invited Indian people. I've invited Spanish people, anybody around the world to support me and unite on one thing that we have in common, is our faith and our spiritual relationship with God. Because if you do not unite on those grounds, you are going to deteriorate and you're going to fall away. America was built on Christian principles, and that's why it is being attacked. The very Constitution is being attacked. And that's why I'm also doing this walk, is for the freedom of Americans and the freedom of American Christians, because you are under attack and you might not see it right now, but I know where it leads, because I've come from a country who has suffered under socialism and communism, because they generate the racism. They stand up and they sing "One American, One Bullet." I don't know if you saw that when they threatened to bomb the U.S. embassy in South Africa, and they stand up and sing "One American, One Bullet," one farmer, one bullet, one settler, one bullet, which means one white person, one bullet. They call for the murder. They incite the racism and the violence on the people. It's not us. So we don't have to be ashamed, and we need to start standing up for who we are and what we are, and saying, no, this is false, this is lies, you are indoctrinating us and lying to the world.
You know, I have some calls for you if you have a few more minutes to go. We're coming up to the bottom of the hour. Let me get to Brian out of Florida. Brian, thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey, Hake, I wanted to ask your guest if he's heard of Colin Flaherty.
Have you heard of Colin Flaherty? Flaherty, Colin Flaherty?
My friend, it's ringing a bell, but you've caught me off guard there. I don't remember the name right now. If you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, go ahead and explain it, Brian. Go for it.
He has interviewed Jesse a few times. But what he does is he exposes and documents racial crime and the denial of it here in America.
Yeah. Okay. He's a journalist. He's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, whose stream that we're on right now, multiple times over the years. And he documents black mob violence here in America, black on white crime, black on handicapped crime, black on Asian crime, black on old people crime. And he has no ill will towards blacks. He just started seeing this and seeing the hole and the denial and the deceit and the delusion of the media that is lying and covering up for them. And in actuality, he's covering up against, the media is covering up against the blacks as well as the whites, because if you don't hold people to what's right, then they're only going to get worse, and it's bad for them and as well as bad for the country.
I'll definitely, after this, I'll go and research that. Definitely, I'm going to look into that, because the black-on-black crime in South Africa is also atrocious. They take tires and fill them with fuel and burn them alive in front of children. Mm-hmm. They burnt a woman and a child about 3-4 days ago alive, and they have it on camera. They still film it. The police rape the people. And sorry to say, it's not white on black, it's black on white, and it's atrocious. And I feel sorry for many of the black people in South Africa as well. They also need help.
You know, are any of them, I know that there are some, I imagine, there are some blacks that support you, that support what's right. Have you seen any wake up, though, that were on the side of the communists, the anti-whites, that have realized that they were wrong and come to join you guys in support?
In South Africa, personally, I have not seen that, because unfortunately, the amount of hate that is growing in South Africa because of the ANC ruling party and Cyril Ramaphosa, who stand up and sing these songs and talk about these racial things and make them hate the people. I've seen nobody turn, but I have had several thousands of good South African black people that have supported me, and I really I honor them, because it's great to have them, because we need them, because who else is standing up for them? Nobody's standing up for them. Nobody's standing up for the people in Zimbabwe. You know, where the Bernie Sanders and the Bloombergs now, and all those, and AOC and all these crazies, where are they now talking about, they lie and say, oh, it's climate change in Zimbabwe. No, it's not. They expropriated the land without compensation violently, and now the people are starving. It's got nothing to do with a fake hoax climate change.
Seriously. Anything else, Brian?
No, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man. Let me get to Maze, who's actually my favorite caller, out of Dayton, Ohio. Maze, how are you doing?
He said keep America great again. What does he mean? How is he trying to make it great?
Okay, so for those who are listening on the podcast, my guest, Buffalo Bartlett, Jason Bartlett, is wearing a Keep America Great hat, which is a Donald Trump hat. And so what's your question?
How is he going? I mean, what's his purpose of how is he supposed to keep America great again?
Okay, so that is a great question. How am I going to keep America great? Do you know, first and foremost, by keeping the country great is keeping the country safe. By me being able to walk 1,557 miles with an American flag that I carry along with me and the President of the United States' hat. And people should be honoring that, not flipping me the middle finger and swearing at me. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to establish that the Americans can see that socialism and communism is going to be the downfall of this country, because I come from a socialist and communist country where they lie and portray that it's going to be working, but it's just going to run the country dry of money. The rich people that say they don't agree with billionaires, they're going to get wealthy on power because they're going to be power mongering. And everybody thinks they're going to thrive. And it's not true. It is a lie, because people just want to spread the money. Yeah.
So that's enough, because I like to be quick and finish and get what I got. So James said that he was telling you about the land that they're taking from you, and it shouldn't be done. Tell him to ask the Native Americans, why do they have America in court today? Because they had a treaty, and they were not abiding by it. And the land that you're walking on now belongs to Native Americans. Not Caucasian people.
It doesn't belong to Native Americans.
Native Americans. And I want you,
we're Native Americans, Mace.
So what I want you to do is do some research on the Red Summer. And you'll see what black people did for this country, soldiers, and what they got treated after they came back for fighting for this country. You don't understand, but you want to use God as a crutch. With the Bible, an African guy told me that was telling me about the Bible and this and that. I said, no, it's not about the Bible. It's about God's commandment that he left on this earth. In this world, for everybody to abide that. So if you're not abiding by those, you got something else on your mind. It's not about Caucasians. It's about how God loves all children.
All right.
Yes, and he does love all children, yes.
That's right, he loves all children. All children should be watching out from the evilness. And I'm listening to all of these things that you're naming, and it's all it's heathenness and it's evil. There's nothing good about the things that you're
Maze, it's evil what the blacks are doing to the whites, right?
No, it's white. It's not about what the blacks are doing to the white, because you don't see no black people running this country.
They're running South Africa. They're running South Africa into the ground, Maze.
No, James. You don't see no black people working with the Russians. You don't see no black people working with the Jews. Who are you looking at? Who you looking at working with them? They just got to sit back on the side and lose.
All right. Thank you, Maze. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
All right. You too. You want any more response to her?
No, people dance around in their shame. I've got no response for her. I mean, she obviously doesn't know anything what she's talking about, unfortunately.
Let me go to Irving out of UK, and then I have another caller, Chris. Hang on, Chris. Irving, first-time caller out of the UK. What's up, Irving? Stay close to your phone.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, go.
How are you guys? My name is Irving. I come from the United Kingdom, and I came from Zimbabwe, and we're just north of South Africa, for those that understand geography quite well. We've had a tumultuous, time in my country, and we're still going through this. Hello?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, we're going through this very, very bad economic situation, which started with the white people, the farmers particularly, getting they were actually killed. These guys were killed, and it created such, everything just went downhill, basically. It seems as if, our government has blood on its hands, and it doesn't want to admit it. And now you have white farmers, they're calling white farmers to come back to the country, you see. And
yeah,
I've seen that.
I'm not sure if these guys are really, they're going to be, protected at all, because these farm invasions, they're still happening, you see. And when I look at the situation in South Africa, it's one of the worst things that I'm saying. We've always, for me, I'm black, so we have always seen black South Africans as very violent people. Okay, well, that's not send prejudices, and say, but it's something that we always saw because of the high crime rate over there, even though it's sort of like a second, a first-class, first world country, right? And now it seems like South Africa is copying the same model of Zimbabwe without any policy, without undertaking any policy to give so-called, in quotation, those black people who want land. There's no policy whatsoever, and they did the same thing in Zimbabwe, and it has caused mayhem that is so unprecedented. You see, so when I see a lot of white people out there and they're fighting things such as this gay agenda that is happening, this liberal agendas that are happening in the world, I can see evil creeping into the world, and in Africa, it's always been there, but I think they've always shrouded it, saying black people are suffering, are going through whatever they're going through, and they want to catch up later on. But from what I've seen from most African countries and black leaders, they really cannot. What can I say? They really cannot stand up for their people, basically, and they cannot stand up for good things. Like Jesse says, and you guys always say, and I've come to realize that, coming to understand God, that there's only good versus evil. There is no longer this isms that come into play, racism, gayism, or whatever ism you can, try to shroud it. It just doesn't exist. It's always evil versus bad.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Evil versus good, sorry. And,
yeah, go for it.
So
Buffalo.
this is what I have for you guys.
So that is an absolutely incredible outlook. And thank you so much for calling in and just expressing real concern and real truth, because as you are Zimbabwean, I've got a lot of Zimbabwean family who were chased out. We were going to inherit a farm, but because of the skin color, we couldn't inherit the farm. A lot of them were shot at, a lot of them were raped, a lot of them were killed. And because of the expropriation without compensation. And South Africa has learned nothing. And they refuse to learn anything because they, like you said yourself, South Africans are viewed as very violent people. And the black people in South Africa are extremely violent. That's why they're necklace people. That's why there's 60 murders every day, and only like 54% of the murders are reported. That's why every 36 seconds a woman is raped. I mean, we've got the highest rape amount in the world. We've got the highest infant rape in the world. And they're not interested in unity. Not once do they speak about unity. They talk about how they're going to take, and they take pride in keeping everybody on welfare and encouraging them to make children, and they'll give them more money so that they can maintain the poverty level so that they can easily bribe them to vote for them. And it's incredible what you said. Thank you so much for calling in. It's so nice to see a Zimbabwean, because where are the people in America and the world standing up for the people in Zimbabwe now? Because if they stand up, then they have to admit that those people were racist against a small white minority of farmers, which was known as the breadbasket of Africa. And Zimbabweans, I know I've got a very strong passion for Zimbabwean black people because they are such beautiful people. They're knowledgeable, they're well educated, and they're not hateful like the South Africans. So thank you so much for calling in, man. It's so good to have good, honest people expressing real and true emotion. You've seen your country just dilapidated and famine-stricken and full of awful things happening, and nobody says anything. Even Pompeo that now getting involved. And this is a great sign for us, because we need to stop it happening in South Africa, because South Africa is going to suffer from a massive famine. There's way more people there than there are in Zimbabwe, because they're coming over the border from Zimbabwe, and I don't blame them, because they're promising everything for free in South Africa. But the violence against the Nigerians, against the Zimbabweans, against the Malawans, against the Mozambicans, everything. The blacks in South Africa are extremely violent because they just want everything for free, and their violence are incited from the government itself. So the government, known as the ANC, and then the third biggest ruling party, the EFF, they are literally causing division on purpose to establish a war zone, which we are currently living in, and they are not ceasing, and they are continuously going after it and making everybody more racist than they ever were. It's 1,000 times worse than apartheid ever was, and they're making their own people as well as all the minorities suffer and torturing them physically, mentally, and emotionally.
You know, man, this lie of racism has been used almost exclusively against whites, and it is a distraction from the reality of the evil within, because they are the same. Their ugly judgment against the so-called racist is the very thing that they're accusing the so-called racist of being, and they don't realize that they're guilty of what they're accusing you of. If you have a couple of minutes, I want to get to one last caller, Chris from Los Angeles. Chris, the vet. He's a veteran. Thank you for calling, Chris.
Hey, what's up, James?
Hey.
So, I don't know, do you have a question for me? It sounded like you were going to ask me something, but
it sounded like you had a question or a comment for.
Yeah, so I want to say, I forget the name of your guest. I apologize.
It's Jason Bartlett, Buffalo Bartlett.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Jason. First of all, I just want to say that, I agree with you that evil is evil. There's no defining line as far as race or anything like that. It's just you're either evil or you're good, or you stand for righteousness,
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to ask you a couple of questions, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but so, these are some of the questions that I hear from people that immigrate to the United States or, that are trying to escape poverty or oppression or anything like that, typically from Latin America or South America. But it's, why don't you go back and fix your country? Why are you coming over here complaining? You should just be happy that you're here and, don't say anything. Just go along and be grateful. Or go back to the Netherlands or whatever, if you have a problem with it.
Any response, Jason?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I thought it was still continuing there. Well, first of all, thank you for your service, sir. I appreciate it. So, a lot of people say, okay, well, then go back to Netherlands or go back to England or go anywhere. We can't. We're not allowed anywhere, because if anybody accepts us, then that country has to admit that black people can be racist towards white people. And they've made it the racist. We haven't made it racist, especially myself and my generation. We haven't made it racist. We trying to unify the country. We're trying to, I'm standing up and saying, I've got nowhere to go. I'm here willing to say, I want to be a refugee in the United States. I'm willing to support your law. I'm willing to take my hat off when the president walks past or a veteran walks past. I'm willing to add to your constitution, support your constitution, and support your taxes and support your whole country, your infrastructure. I'm willing to work my whole life just to feed the American people, because we've got nowhere to go. We're not allowed anywhere. It's a massive yearly process just to get a visa for most countries. So we can't go back to the Netherlands. We can't go back to England. We can't go back to France. We can't go back to Germany. We are not welcome because of the basis and the color of our skin. That's the answer to that, sir.
All right. Well, I just wanted to see, because, when it comes to, according to Hake here, when you come here, you're supposed to just get on board and shut up, and you're not allowed to have an opinion. But, when it seems to me, and I know it's not like this all across the board, but when you're white, it's like, all right, man, come on in, we'll take care of you, and you say you want to be American, you want to take part, and you want to assimilate and be a real American, come on in. But when you're brown, it's like, and you still do that, and you assimilate, and just like you're saying, you don't have really any other option but to come here, and you still make that attempt to become an American. And I know there's a lot of bad apples, but anyway, when you do that, it's like you're still less of an American. You get treated like you're still kind of stuck in class, and that you should just be grateful that you're even here. That you're not really a true American. Like, you're just an American because we're allowing you to be. But when you're white, it's not really like that. It's like, come on in and, join the party. So I think there's like I said, I sympathize for you and what's happening in South Africa. And it really doesn't matter who's doing what. It's evil, and I stand against evil. But I just wanted to make a contrast there. It really wasn't my original question, but I had to stay on topic. So, and like I said, I was just playing devil's advocate. So that's all I really got to say, Hake. I
appreciate it, Chris.
You have a response?
Yeah. Yeah. Hang on here. Do you have any response for that? There is a lot of. Did you catch what he was saying
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
So what he's saying is basically that America is, when you're accepted as a white person to become an American citizen, you just, you're a normal a citizen, and brown people or black people are not. I completely disagree with that, because I know several South Africans who still have an accent and live here and have been living here for the last 30 years, and they're not welcomed in all groups. And I can tell this personally, if you can hear it, I've got an accent as well. Walking from Texas all the way to the White House, yes, they might look at you and see you white. You're probably an American because you're carrying an American flag. But once they stop and talk to you, they realize that you're a foreigner. But the reason they welcome you is because they understand what's happening in South Africa. More and more people, and there is good and there is evil. But if a white person stands up and says something is evil, and it is evil, then we should be supporting them as well. We don't have to be ashamed for being the color of our skin. Why must we say, okay, well, we support good and we're against evil and you're righteous, that's fine, but we're not willing to talk about it. We should be comfortable saying, hey, yeah, they're ugly to us. And it was the same as, was Hitler ugly to the Jews? Yes, he was atrocious to the Jews. We can talk about that. So why can't we talk about black people being murderous and killing towards white people? And I'm never going to be accepted as a true American because I've got an accent. My mind is different. It works different to yours. It works different to Jesse's. It works differently. I've been raised in a different culture. I've been raised in a loving culture. It's not a hateful culture, but it is different. We've got different worldviews, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my worldview is not of necklacing people with tires and murdering people and torturing people and killing people. So the fact that you state that I will just come into America and be accepted as an American, as a first-class citizen, that's not true. That's very far from the truth, because you can go to Miami or Florida area, and there's many South Africans there, and you go and join up and you chat to them. They are still South African, even though they've got American citizenship. It's like saying, for example, the Polish and the Irish, are they Americans now? Or are they of Irish heritage? They're of Irish heritage and Polish heritage and Italian heritage. So I completely disagree with you what he's got to say there. But I do admit that we have to be able to feel comfortable to talk about violence and hatefulness from everywhere, because it's not fair that you can just say, oh, the whites were horrible to the blacks during the apartheid. What about the murders? And there's over almost 100,000 murders in the last 25 years in South Africa against white people. What about those people? Do they not have a say? Are they getting what they deserve? I mean, that's atrocious. And then people should be ashamed of themselves, and they should stand up for good, and they should put their money where their mouth is, or at least their determination, and be proud to talk about it and say, hey, no, I don't mind talking about this because it's the truth and it is good.
Before you respond, Chris, if you have any response, Blessed and Praying on Periscope says, America accepts you because you support and accept America. Most blacks and brown don't accept the USA. Anyways, Chris, go. You have any response to that?
That's all I got, Hake.
Thank you, man.
We can, let's talk again. Hear me out.
All right.
We'll talk soon. All right, bye.
Take care. I'm going to get to the rest of the calls, but first let me finish up with Jason Bartlett, at Buffalo Bartlett on Twitter, and his website, boerextinction.org, BOER, extinction.org. Anything else, Buffalo Bartlett?
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for the American people. You guys have been overwhelmingly supportive, open arms. I've walked 850 miles in total now, and I'm almost about to enter the city of Nashville, and it's just opened its arms. I've got interviews all over the place. People have offered me place to stay. They've offered me money. They've donated on my website, boerextinction.org. And I just say it's time for Christians to unite, and Christians of all color. I don't mind what color you are. I'm a loving person, and I'm standing up for the Americans as well as the South Africans, because we need to stand against this evil agenda known as socialism and communism, because the year 2020 is where we decide, are we going to stay with Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, or are we going to be a communist and socialist country? That's how far it's got, and that's where we are. We've warned people. It's knocking on the door. It's knocking on the door. And lo and behold, I think it's 256 days' time, we will have to answer that call and decide, are we going to be a beautiful country that we can keep Christian and we can keep it great and people can thrive, or do we want a country based on lies and corruption that's going to dissolve into the state South Africa has dissolved? Because it is going to happen, and it will happen if we do not fight against it. So I ask all the American Christians and great Americans out there to stand and unite with me in prayer, and stand up and unite with me, and let's go against socialism, against communism, and stand up for Christ.
I have two last questions that I forgot to ask you. I've got some text messages. Is it safe to visit South Africa right now?
I would say it is safe, but it's safe to visit, but I would go very well planned. I wouldn't go there as a little backpacker going on your own discovery to find yourself, because what you will find hatred and murder. And know if you're black or white, because if you're a black person and you go to the United States, to South Africa from the United States, and you've got your American accent, you are an open target for the black people there. They will hate you because they are very xenophobic in South Africa. As well as if you're a white person and you're wearing jewelry, don't wear jewelry. Don't go out after 5 or 6 o'clock at night. Make sure you barricade yourself up. Don't, wear a camera over, hanging out so you can see it, and rather stick to the tours. The people that charge you 5 times the amount the actual thing costs, rather pay 5 times the amount so that you can actually get somewhere safely. But if you're looking to do it as a honeymoon, be very careful. I really do admit you have to be extremely cautious and extremely careful. The rape, every 36 seconds, a woman is raped in South Africa, and it's atrocious, and it's very, very violent. 60 people are murdered every day. It's in a terrible state. So I would probably head to a different country for the next few years, to be honest.
I've seen the murder rates of South Africa, and I've compared them to like the murder rates in some of our worst cities, and they're countrywide, nationwide. Over in South Africa, the murder rate is as bad as practically any of our cities. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've heard you say, and I've heard other people say, that America gives $510 million, more than $500 million to South Africa every year. And I'm getting a question from actually my de facto producer, Dylan. What has the President Trump, done to help you guys solve this problem?
Okay, so he hasn't done a major drastic thing yet, because when he tweeted about it, he was automatically shut down by the leftist media, the Marxist media here in America, as well as the government in South Africa retaliated and said, like, Donald Trump must get lost. We will take the land like we want. He must keep his America. We will keep our South Africa. But then it's fine. Then Donald Trump must also keep his $500 million that he sends there every year. And he's also threatened to break a trade agreement with South Africa now, because he's going to stand up against them. And I think this is going to be a wonderful year for South Africa and President Donald Trump standing up for them, because he's a bold enough Christian. He's a bold enough man to stand up and say, these people need preferential asylum. They are the real refugees. Their cases need to be expedited. And the Boer people and the white people in South Africa need an immediate action plan.
Well, I hope that it happens. I hope it all works out. It would be awesome to see you in the White House with President Trump having a meeting in the Oval Office there. We'll see what happens, though, man.
Most certainly.
Yeah. Any last things? We got to wrap up. I have to get to my last calls and hang up with you.
No, I understand completely. No, we can wrap it up there. Just may God's peace be with you, and thank you for all the support, and thank you for all the new support coming in, as well as the donations on the website. I really appreciate it, and may we keep this great country great, and may we keep it Christian, and may we support our President of the United States here proudly. God bless you all.
You as well. It's been great talking with you. Thank you, Jason Bartlett. At Buffalo
Bye-bye.
Bartlett on Twitter, and BoerExtinction.org, BOER extinction.org. Let me get to my callers. Bobby out of Nashville, been on hold for quite some time. Bobby out of Nashville, what's up?
Hey, Hake. I'm wondering if I know you watched the Kill Stream with Ethan Ralph on D-Live. I'm wondering if you're going to call in tonight. It's going to be a pretty good show. Nick Fuentes is going to be on. Right
on. Thank you for the tip. Yeah, I may do that. I have never called in via Discord to any show in the past, so maybe it would be my first time. But I appreciate the tip. I'll be checking it out.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty fiery because, I don't know, some of those guys are into the whole, like, cat boy thing. And, and I don't know, I feel like it's going to be pretty funny. It'd be cool to have your input on that.
You know, I don't know much about the cat boy thing. I've heard somebody bring it up on when I interviewed Richard Spencer a few weeks ago, and then I heard something else, but I don't know much about that. But all right, yeah, it should be some interesting drama. I wasn't aware. I know that Nick Fuentes got flack for something, and he was accused of all kinds of weird things. So appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty funny. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Appreciate you holding. Take care.
All right.
Rick out of Hampton, Virginia. What's up, Rick? Thank you for holding.
Brother James, what's up, my brother? Much love to you and the crew, man.
Thank you, man.
Happy Friday to you.
You as well. You as well.
You know, the question I got, I don't, it's like when liberals think they can't, even the men, they can't logically think. Because we was having a discussion today with Bloomberg, you know how Bernie Sanders said, well, you're rich, not only because you're working hard, but what other people done for you. But then I said, well, he paid them people to do a job.
Exactly.
He paid them a fair wage.
Yep.
I said, so how is he wrong about that? Bernie Sanders, all these young people are chasing him for because they think Bernie Sanders will miraculously make their college debt disappear. That's the only reason why they're chasing him.
Yeah, they're brainwashed. Yep.
Yeah, and another thing too, we was talking about World War II. You remember when the U.S. sort of quarantined the Japanese?
Yeah, I remember that.
I said I would have done the same thing too. I said because they already deceived us. You see what I mean?
They have the face of the enemy.
They already deceived us. And just not that I was trying to harm them, but I just didn't want to take any chances of them relating anything back to Japan.
Yeah, I mean that's what we should be doing with this the coronavirus thing. But no, we're too politically correct. We don't want to be racist. It's pathetic.
You know, what is going on? Is that virus a flu or something?
I don't know. I don't know if it's overblown or if it's true or if it's underblown. But I just want people to be smart and tough. And it seems like most people in America and around the world, honestly, are neither. So it's crazy.
So what do you think about the coronavirus? What do you think should be done there, James?
Just be careful. Just watch your back. Don't go around any people that are, maybe stay out of public places. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But man, I basically trust Trump to work towards doing right by America on that note. And everybody else, I don't, including most of his administration.
The funny thing, man, President Trump has almost eliminated all these people that was not trading fairly and got them trading fairly, and you ain't heard not 1 ounce of news about him making these good trade deals.
Right. Yeah, because they don't want the truth. They don't want the truth that Trump is doing right by America. They hate America, honestly. The media, they think they care about it, but they don't. They're phony. Anyways, Rick.
Can I say one other thing, James?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Everybody always you can ask any liberal, they can tell you Trump is that, Trump is that. But I turned the question around. I started saying, then why should I vote for your guy? And half of them can't give you a good reason to vote for their guy.
That's true. Good point,
so
man.
That's what I started to do, is stop fighting them about Trump. Because you're not going to win. They're going to find every little doodle they can complain about Trump. Then I just turn it around. Well, tell me why I should vote for your guy.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And half, they don't even know what he stands for half the time. But anyway, Jay, love you, brother. Have a great, wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Rick. You as well. Take care. So, Jimmy DM gave a Ninja Guinea. Thank you, Jimmy DM. Said, great show, James. Thanks for exposing the hatred with truth. No racism, quote unquote. It's just hatred. And actually, most of the time, when something is called racist, it's actually just somebody just telling the truth. So oftentimes what's called racist is either love or is just telling the honesty. And so honesty and real love is attacked. That's why Jesse Lee Peterson is being called hateful and hate speech and stuff like that. And by the way, about Blessed and Praying on Periscope, Blessed and Praying had said what I read in response to Chris and Buffalo Bartlett. America accepts you because you support and accept America. Most blacks and brown don't accept the USA. Blacks and brown, he goes on to say, or I don't know, he or she goes on to say, blacks and brown want to change America, come for free money and services. You know, that's true. They end up anti-white, socialist, and identifying with their blackness or brownness. Brownity, Mexicanity. Anyways, I have a little bit of news to read to you guys before we wrap up. Trump, I told you guys in Hake News the other week that, what's his name, Brad Pitt had said he said some smart remark, right? He said he won an Oscar for the first time in his life, right? And he said, they told me I only have 45 seconds up here for his acceptance speech, which is 45 seconds more than the Senate gave John Bolton last week. That was when the Senate acquitted Trump without calling John Bolton as a so-called witness. And he said, I'm thinking Quentin, as in Quentin Tarantino, liberal guy, dumb guy, does a movie about it. In the end, the adults do the right thing. And I was like, dumb. Well, Trump responded yesterday at the ceremony. I mean, not the ceremony. The speech in Colorado Springs. He said, then you have Brad Pitt. I was never a big fan of his. He got up, said a little wise guy statement. Wise guy statement. That's an exact description of what that is. Trump's good at characterizing people. Very nice. So, guys, Trump rally at noon. The Fallen State is out today with Stacey Mitchell, the Pan-African expert. Very nice. She black. And Church with Jesse Lee Peterson Sunday at 11. My show Sunday at 9 on my channel. Follow my channel, The Hake Report, or just Hake on YouTube. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you Sunday.